Yes. Yes, now let us discuss on traditional versus modern learning environment. So how was traditional learning environment and how was modern learning environment? So as we have already discussed, in those days, teacher is the source of information. Whatever the teacher says, that is the information. What is given in the textbook, that is the information. So limited scope. Teachers' roles are also very limited. So where the teacher taught the students. So his role is just teaching. It is nothing but inculcating a kind of value system, namely gaining new knowledge. So the traditional teacher, with his limited role performance or with his limited role responsibilities, he performed certain things. So his vision, his mission, his objectives are limited. But it is not in the modern days. The modern days, teacher is expected to do many things. So he should undergo every now and then in-service training programs in academic staff colleges, orientation courses, rehearsal courses, seminars, symposium, workshop, etc. These are all the things the teacher has to equip every now and then. Unless the teacher equips himself, he cannot qualify himself for promotion. So even at least for promotion purpose, every teacher is expected to qualify himself by undergoing such in-service training programs. And again, in those days, students learned only from the textbook, and students were examined only from the textbook. They cannot, that means there may not be any questions outside the syllabus. So in olden days, mostly education teacher-centered, subject-centered, not so free as we see in modern days. But today, the students are given more opportunity to enjoy freedom there in the institution. So whatever the teacher teaches in the class is not adequate for the modern student. So he has to equip himself by exploring and by exploiting the resources available there in the internet. So that is what we also say, virtual classes. You can attend virtual classes, online counseling, online tutoring, online testing, computerized question banks. So these things are readily available nowadays. The modern learners, he can exploit such open education materials. So exploring and exploiting such facilities, he can improve his skill sets. So in those days, such materials are not readily available. Even to purchase a book, a prescribed textbook, you have to wait for months. And even if you rush to the bookstore, it may be out of stock. So such was the condition. Even when I was studying up to my graduation, post-graduation, even MPhil PhD level, Of course, limited resources were there, but nowadays it is not like that. Even for a PhD scholar, plenty of materials readily available. So just in the internet, he can refer thousands of PhD theses. For your kind information, when I was doing my PhD work, I was able to refer only one PhD thesis, even just for an hour. I was given the permission just to refer a PhD thesis just for an hour only. But nowadays, plenty of theses are readily available in the university libraries, even in the internet. I don't know how many people are going to use such resources. So this is the way the learning environment differs from the olden days and the modern days. So now let us see how the modern learners move, or the modern teachers move from teaching paradigm to learning paradigm. So it is in general, it is applicable for both teachers and learners. So moving from teaching paradigm to learning paradigm. So here you see exploring and anticipating learning paradigms beyond constructivism. Of course, this slide will help you how we move just from what we say teaching to learning. So the role of the teacher changes in what way? You just see in the past, knowledge adoption, rote learning, just teaching what we say instruction. The teacher is the primary source of knowledge. Knowledge creations for some elites, and knowledge is already in place. The focus of learning is on gaining knowledge. So in the past, knowledge adoption is the main objective of learning. Just undergo a course, study, take the examination, get the certificate, then get yourself employed elsewhere. So knowledge adoption. And in those days, they believe in rote learning, that means mug-upping without understanding. Whatever they are given the prescribed text, they read it, they mug up it, and essay type questions, subjective questions would be asked most of the time, that too at the end of the year, not semester exam or not internal assessment, nothing. They have to wait for a year. So they have to remember whatever they have learned for the whole of the year, and the examination will be only at the end of the year. Nowadays not like that. And teacher is the main source of information. Whatever the teacher says and what is given in the textbook and nothing else. But in the present days, learners are expected to produce knowledge. Learners are creators of knowledge. Learners, they have to produce knowledge by way of doing some research, by way of doing some critical assignments, some way of doing some project work. So like that, students are expected to create knowledge. So they are not consumers of knowledge. Nowadays, present days, students are expected to create knowledge. Then that's why modern students should be active and should be productive. Unless otherwise they are active and unless they are productive, they cannot get higher grades. Unless they get higher grades, it is very difficult for them to compete in the job what we say that appointments when they go for any job placement. So there we have to face many a competition. Okay, so that is the situation of the modern students. What about the future? In the future, knowledge becomes navigation. Knowledge navigation. So what does it mean, knowledge navigation? So you have to navigate the knowledge. How Avayar says, Tamil poet. So it's Tamil poetess Avayar. He says, Katrathu Kaimanalavu, Kalladadu Ulagalavu. So Katrathu Kaimanalavu, Kalladadu Ulagalavu. So knowledge is ocean. Of course, the same thing was also expressed by the English poet Tennyson. In one of his poems, he says, follow knowledge like a sinking star beyond the utmost bounds of human thought. Of course, Avayar and Tennyson, I think it seems Tennyson's thinking process go along with Avayar's process. Avay told long ago. Of course, Tennyson says very recently. So follow knowledge like a sinking star beyond the utmost bounds of human thought. In the words of Avayar, Katrathu Kaimanalavu, Kalladadu Ulagalavu. So knowledge is navigation. So how we are going to explore where the knowledge is available and how we are going to exploit such knowledge. So that is a knowledge navigation. So future students should navigate towards the knowledge because knowledge is ocean. So in such a way, we can easily see the environment, the learning environment in the past, in the present, in the future. Yes, I have already discussed with you the role of learners in competence-based curricula. So in those days, teacher-led transmission, that means teacher-centered education, subject-centered education, structured education. So less freedom for the students, less creativity in the classroom, less freedom for expression. So the learners, they remain to be passive spectators in the classroom. So they just memorized the learning materials and they are most obedient. They never raise questions. They are reluctant in asking questions. And they compete against each other. They know only their classmates. They cannot think of the people around. So far as the learners concerned, they compete with only among the learners of the class. So I should be the first ranker, second ranker, third ranker. We also compare the students in terms of their rank. So we are not comparing his rank at the national level or at the regional level or at the international level. So in those days, the environment of the education, the learning environment was teacher-led. So students remained passive. They just memorized. They are more obedient to the classroom. They never raise questions. Whatever the teacher says, they accept as it is. And competition only within the classroom. But at the same time, the modern students, Now let us see the learning environment, the context of the modern education. So increasing responsibility on the part of the learners. So learners, they are the self-learners. They should learn themselves, independent learning. So they cannot depend upon only what was taught there in the classroom. So beyond the classroom teaching, the modern student should develop his knowledge. The modern student should expand his knowledge, and he has to take the responsibility. He has to own the responsibility for his own development. And the modern student, he should adopt active inquiry, interaction, and management of a variety of competing information sources. So modern students should enjoy freedom of speech. So modern students are given freedom of speech in the classroom. So the teachers should respect the feelings of the students. The teachers should develop the ideas of the students, and there should be both teacher question and the student question, that is called interaction. And even the student comes with some new ideas. It is the duty of the teacher not only to develop the idea but also to encourage the student. So freedom of expression. Only when there is a freedom of expression, you can expect there is creativity. So the modern teacher should encourage creativity among the learners just by providing freedom of expression. And again, in the modern days, students, they have to collaborative learning, cooperative learning. So modern students, they have to give and take among themselves. They cannot hide the learning materials, the teaching and learning material, the reference materials, the journal papers. So they have to share, give and take, mutual sharing and mutual caring. But in olden days, you cannot see such a open sharing of the learning materials among the students. But nowadays, the mindset of the learners changed. So whatever they acquire from different sources, they share. So that is a very appreciable quality of the modern learners. Then in those days, compartmentalized learning in subjects. That means they have only limited subject. In sense, they can study the languages, part 1 Tamil, part 2 English, part 3 chemistry, major, ancillary maths and physics. So compartmentalized. Again BSc botany, BSc zoology, botany major, ancillary chemistry and zoology. Like that, compartmentalized learning. But nowadays it is multidisciplinary in nature. Bioinformatics, biotechnology, nuclear biology, molecular biology. So like interdisciplinary subjects have come into existence. It is not like in those days, botany, zoology, physics, chemistry, like that. So when I was a student of PG class, there are very limited subjects like arts subjects, science subjects, like MA, MSc, MCom, botany, zoology, physics, chemistry, economics, sociology, psychology, philosophy. So like that, limited. Nowadays, not like that. Plenty of specializations are available. So students are totally free to choose anything. So in our days it is not like that. Of course, I tried to join for MSc chemistry. In those days, only very limited colleges offered MSc program. So I was not able to get MSc admission. That's why I was forced to take up MA English. But nowadays, if you are not able to get chemistry, you can go for biochemistry, or you can go, many things are there for chemistry students. Electro in Karaikudi, there is a special course, what we say that there is a special course for chemistry students. Like that, many a place, Annamalai University for biology students, ocean biology. So many such things are there. Not necessarily BSc zoology should go for only MSc zoology. There are plenty of opportunities available. So subject specializations are more nowadays. Multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. And again, in those days, relation where in terms of a relationship between the teacher and the taught. Of course, there is a distance between the teacher and the taught. So there is teachers keep the students at distance. But nowadays not like that. The teacher is trusted, because nowadays the teacher is not teaching. What he says, he is interacting with the students. Mutual sharing, mutual caring, mutual give and take. That is the policy of modern days of teaching. So the teacher and the taught mutually sharing and mutually caring, give and take policy they adopt. In those days it is not like that. And again, in those days, subject relevance for the learners. So as I have already told you, in olden days, the subjects, the education is teacher centered, subject centered, and what we say. So it is not free on the part of the learners. It is not psychologically sound. But nowadays, it is need based, learner based. It is psychologically sound. So students have more freedom. So it is need based. Our modern curriculum is need based curriculum. It is psychological. And he has have the freedom from moving from one subject to other subject. So under CBCS, you can easily see main specialization is there, supportive classes, elective classes. Of course, when I was working as a professor in the university department, I offered communicating English as a supportive course and English for communication as an elective course. You may not believe, hundreds of students, they opted for communicating English and English for communication, elective supportive courses. So such a freedom is available nowadays. But in olden days, you cannot change your subject. You are not allowed to go beyond the subject you have already chosen. So in such a way, the learning environment changes from modern days to present days.